Good morning, BUHS. Today is Monday, May 7th, and a purple day. Today's broadcast is brought to you by the BUHS core values: community, responsibility, respect, and relevance. On Wednesday, during NAV 101, advisories will be discussing core values and what they mean to you, me, and our school community. Over to Jesse with more information.
Over the next couple weeks, we will be learning more about our core values: community, responsibility, respect, and relevance, and we will learn how to reflect them in all that we do. Back to the desk.
In an effort to communicate better to you, your parents, and the community, BUHS is now on Facebook. Like the page and get up to date. Information regarding the events such as prom, important dates, and more.
Attention juniors, would you like to attend a college fair at Keene State College on May 11th? The BUHS Counseling Department is providing a bus to the college fair. Sign up in counseling. All students under 18 must have a permission slip signed by a parent or guardian to attend. Now over to Connor with sports.
Good morning. Jacob Ellis broke a record in Burlington at the Burlington Invitation. The old record was 4 minutes and 5 seconds. The new one is 4:04.39. Good job, Jacob. You really did it. Girls tennis lost to Amherst 0-7. Baseball won 2-1 against Fairhaven, and boys lacrosse won 9-8 against Rutland. Good job. All games are at MAU tonight. Yeah, back to the desk.
Thanks, man. That was awesome sports. This Wednesday, May 9th, is Activity Day. There are several important meetings going on. Here's a list of what is happening.
At 8:15, there was a book club meeting to discuss monstrumology in the library.
Period 4, right after the advisory, there's a junior full class meeting on the auditorium. All juniors should plan on attending.
The Colonel Yearbook is having a meeting for any students interested in joining the staff for next year during A-Lunch.
There's also a junior class council meeting during C-Lunch to finalize plans for prom. All class council members should attend.
There will be a freshman class council meeting in Ms. Levesque's room during period 4 to discuss the class t-shirts. Now let's see how the weather is looking. Over to you, Fabia.
Thanks, Ethan. So today we start the Monday with a bright sun and a high 72 and a low 49. Then tomorrow the opposite with rain and a high 58 and low 54. That's all what I have. Enjoy the Monday and back to the desk.
Thank you, Fabia. The following students need to see Miss Lib regarding prom tickets: Sam Colleran, Sarah Kendrick, Megan Woods, Aaron Gendro, Jeremy Descharme, and Kara Walsh. There are no more prom tickets available. We will begin a waiting list. If you have a ticket and decide not to attend, please return the ticket to Miss Lib. Do not give the ticket to anyone else. Only the name on the back of the ticket will be honored at the prom door on prom night. Students from the Swiss Exchange are looking for host families. Here is Jake Mann and Bailey Page with more information about the Swiss Exchange.
Hello, I'm Jake.
And I'm Bailey.
And we're here with the Swiss Exchange program. We are looking for students to provide homestays September 20th through 29th of 2012. Anyone is eligible to host, and 2 students can share hosting responsibilities if needed.
The exchange program will organize activities for the Swiss students during the school day, and the only expense for you will be food. Also, anyone that hosts is invited to New York City and a potluck with the rest of the Swiss Exchange students.
In addition, the BUHS Swiss Exchange program is still open for any new members.
If you have any questions or wish to sign up, please contact Miss Cassidy in room 217.
That's all we have for today, BUHS. But have a great day. And we will be leaving you with a look at the Belize trip and the students' discussion about what happened on Friday. I know, according to some people, that it was amazing. Have a great day and think positive. You know.
I promised I'd give them enough time to get here and start, but so thanks for coming and thanks for watching. If you're watching at home. Mr. Braden, these are 12, if I counted right, of our people who made it back safe and sound and in one piece from the inaugural BUHS trip to Belize. And we're going to share some of our experiences here in photo form, in spoken form. If anyone is not talking loud enough, by all means tell them to use the microphone or yell very loudly. All right. First, Who knows where Belize is? Oh, she clicked. Yeah, we can go. It's in Central America. Right about there. Size Massachusetts, flipped on its side. It's got about 300,000 people, half the population of Vermont. Very small. In terms of its overall level of development, it's light green, meaning it's not one of the most impoverished countries on Earth, but it's also not the dark green of, for example, the United States and Canada. So this is a new and different experience for a lot of people, not only because of the biology that's there, but the overall level of development that they saw there. Next slide. Here it is from outer space. The contrast is not great, so we'll move on. Here it is in terms of the rocks and minerals that are found there, which we spend a lot of time on. But in brief, these are the high mountains, everything else is lowland. And off the coast, you get the islands and reef that we were studying on half of our trip. This is all the protected area. Belize is one of the leading countries on Earth in terms of the percentage of its land that is actually protected. Over a third of the land is protected in some way, shape, or form, and about 13% of their waters. So that's one thing this country has going for it, is it's protected a lot of land and therefore draws a lot of tourists to it. These are the different forest types that we saw. We saw the mangroves, not all of them definitely, but those ring the coast. They'll show and tell about those in a bit. All this green is tropical rainforest, and then the lightish blue looks like water, but that's drier areas, pine forest. And then this is where, oh, sorry, that's fine, one more. And so here's the map that they'll be telling you about. Everything from here on out is them, but this is Belize, and these are the students who went there, and day by day they're going to go through and tell you about their experiences. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to, I believe, Anna. You're next.
All right, is carrying over to everybody? All right, so let's start with the picture of the Belizean flag. Quick fact, it's the only international flag with people, depicting people, and the people are actually involved in the logging industry. For the first part of when Belize was first a nation, it got its independence from Britain in the 60s, but it was a British colony for a very long time, and its biggest industry was logging. So, you know, we were in a rainforest, much of which had been destroyed or jeopardized by the logging industry. So that was a big part of our studies, was looking at the sustainability of the rainforest and how it is resilient. So first night, if this is going to work. Okay. Our first day we spent at the Crooked Tree Birding Sanctuary, which is on the big lagoon in northern Belize. Can you get the cursor there? You can see Crooked Tree in the very north above Belize City. Yep. And probably the best accommodations that we stayed in terms of being closest to what we know as accommodations. The rest of the time we were largely in cabins, bunk beds, kind of thing. But anyways, this is Crooked Tree. The lagoon you see behind attracts more than 250 species of birds, particularly during the migration season. So that's a great diversity in birds, calls, colors. Yep, lots of hammock time in Belize. This is a 5 a.m. Photo of the lagoon. Best time to look for birds. Our first night there, we took a walk through the village there to experience birds, wildlife, plants, and people. The languages were totally new to us. The official language of Belize is English, but largely Creole, Spanish, and 14 dialects of Maya are spoken. This was our terrific guide, Joe. Had the reputation in the trip of being a walking encyclopedia on his nation. He loves his country, and he knows everything there is to know about it. I think everyone would agree with that. So these are some of the things we saw. This is a cashew nut, what you guys are familiar with eating, roasted and salted, is the upper part, the green portion, and the fruit we actually had the opportunity of tasting. All had very interesting reactions to that, right? Some of the livelihood of Belize, farming. This is a snake cactus, just one of the many kinds of plants that grow in the rainforest and on the trees. Second day, I'll hand it off.
Okay, so I'm Nicole, by the way, and I'm Helen, and we're going to talk about the second day. So we got up very early, had a delicious breakfast, and headed out to go hike around some Mayan ruins. But in order to get there, we had to go 26 miles up a river. You couldn't get there by boat, so that was a picture of us on our boat. And along the way, we got to see some spider monkeys, and it was amazing to see them jumping through the trees and following us along the river. And at one point, they even came down next to the boat and were just, following us, kind of playing with us. And apparently, some of the tour guides let the monkeys onto the boat, but we didn't get that experience because we couldn't quite know what would happen to that. But that's our
So when we got to Lanai, we did a short hike through the rainforest to get to the ruins. And along the way, came across a vine, and I was allowed to climb it. It's pretty cool. Just being in the vine in the rainforest. And we came across, this was our first experience in the rainforest, and the trees were gigantic.
So this is a good representation of how big they are relative to a person, or that was. And this picture, I think, is the first temple that we came to. And what's interesting is that the part it's showing right now, the base, that was uncovered within the last 10 years. And it was really amazing that what we found out was that a bunch of the ruins are just like not even excavated yet. There is so much that the Mayans build on top of one another, so there's a lot that they know is underground through sonar, but that they haven't excavated yet. And it was cool that this was a relatively new discovery.
And this is a picture, we actually got to climb up a few of the temples. This is a high temple, the highest one in the complex. That's the view from the top. This is sort of where they lived, the residency of the Mayan, and each of the stone squares represented a room or a bed.
Also what's showing in this picture are some of the roots of a strangler fig, and it kind of shows how the strangler fig overlaps the ruins, and it makes it hard for them to excavate, but it shows the beauty of the rainforest among the ruins. I think there's more. There's totally more. Okay.
Right. This is the Jaguar Temple, and a lot of the temples are based off of the Mayan beliefs, and jaguars are pretty big.
Symbolism. There's a lot of symbolism with jaguars.
And something interesting about the big field right in front of the temple is the priests would stand on top of the temples, and everyone would gather on the field so the sound would come across when they held ceremonies.
Continuing on the theme of jaguars, we next went. Okay, my name is Lindsay, and so we ended up going to, at the Education Center at the Buhs Zoo. And this is the owner, the woman that you see. Her name is Sharon Matola, and she's actually the founder of the zoo. And she wrote a book, The Last Fight of the Scarlet Macaw, highly recommended. You'll have to read this book if you go on a Buhs trip, or another book which I'll show you later, but this features her struggles to save the Scarlet Macaw Buhs. Okay, so while we were there, we had the opportunity to have a couple of lectures, and we went also on a night walk of the zoo, which was really cool to see all the nocturnal animals at nighttime. But I mean, you're seeing Balboa, the boa constrictor that we all had the opportunity to hold and put around our necks. And then we had the opportunity to see, I think, like four different kinds of cats. This one is the ocelot, the puma, and the jaguar, which was really cool. We also had the opportunity to touch his paws and to really interact with him, along with the puma. Okay, and then the next day we went back in the morning so we could see the other life. And a bunch of us had the opportunity to go into the cage with the jaguar. I think we were still separated by a thin layer of cage, but as you can see here, we're really interacting with it. That's Dominic, if you guys don't know. But yeah, if you had short enough hair, you were able to have the jaguar lick you. And I was also able to feed the jaguar, which was pretty cool. And this is their national mammal. It's their biggest mammal, tapir. And they're really, really soft. And they're a relative of the horse family, so. Okay, this is the jaguar stork, and it stands, I think, 5 feet tall, and its wingspan is about 12 feet in length, so that was pretty cool to see. Yeah, I mean, this is the closest we were able to get to it, I think, but this picture, pictures of the animals are great, so. This is a DOT that we were able to attach an iguana. So we're back to macaws. A couple of us, I'm not sure how many of us, went in and we were able to feed the macaws, but we weren't allowed to touch them just because they wanted to bite. They ate the nuts. Quickly, the Scarlet Macaw, the reason that this book was written was the building of a hydroelectric dam in southwestern Belize, which has actually now been constructed, but Sharon Toll you saw earlier in the pictures. Her crusade was to save this habitat from the reservoir that will result from the dam, which is prime Scarlet Macaw habitat. These birds live happily in this country, but they have lost their habitat in southern Belize. So that was really unfortunate, but it was also really fascinating to see these birds so close up that we had read about, almost all of us had read about prior to the trip. Yeah, this is a harpy eagle. I think it's the biggest eagle in the world. Yes. Oh yeah, he eats monkeys for dinner. But at the end of the day at the zoo, we had the opportunity to write on the ceiling. So we wrote Broad Road Vermont, United USA, BUHS 2012, and we all wrote our names on the left corner. So, and one thing to say about the zoo is they're not funded by the government whatsoever. So I think we paid like $250 or something like that to write that on the wall, and it goes to like feeding the animals and keeping the whole place clean and just taking care of everything that needs to be done there. And all the animals that they have there, they're native to Belize, but they don't go out and capture them. They're either, there's 3 ways that they get them. Either they're confiscated by the government, they're dropped on their doorstep, or they find them injured somewhere. So.
The next day we went back to, or the same day, I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say. The same day we went back to our tour guide Ivar, he's hilarious, and we went cave tubing in the Mayan caves, and it was actually really cool. That's a picture of us all walking. It was quite a walk to get there, but it was worth it. That's the entrance of the cave, and in the cave there was natural rock structures, and the Mayans believed that each structure symbolized something, and it was a symbol from the gods. There was a jellyfish, a serpent, a mother with children, an eagle. I can't remember exactly what it is. These are just different pictures from inside the caves.
The next day we went south of the Coxcomb Basin. Yeah, we went south to the Coxcomb Basin, which is a jaguar reserve, and it's extremely extensive because jaguars require a lot of space. They live alone and they roam a lot of land. So the basin is 150,000 acres, evidently. It's huge, which is a great thing that Belize has. When we stayed at the Coxcomb Basin, we stayed in sort of almost cabin, barrack-like housing. It was very interesting, but definitely made our experience more full. So at night, our tour guide Joe would just pick up things like this coffee snake or tarantulas or whatever wildlife was living right next to us. We had experiences with scorpions, so we had a lot of very impromptu experiences with animals in the coxcomb. Is that our friend the tarantula? Yeah. Oh right. And Joe also, he's an extraordinary guide, so he offered us the opportunity to go on morning bird walks with him, and that's what that picture's from. But the main thing I'm going to talk about is our hike. Joe is an incredible hiker. He, the highest peak in Belize is 3,000. It's Mount Victoria, and it's almost 3,700 feet. And he's hiked it in the shortest amount of time, so he kept us going at a really, really vigorous pace. He's hiked Mount Victoria with his blind son to raise funds and stuff, so he's a great guy to have hiking. And so in the background, you can see background of that last picture, you can see Mount Victoria, and you can also see the entire Coxcomb Basin. So that's why we hiked this particular mountain, so we could get the view. And even if you're not an accomplished athlete, like me, I'm not a very accomplished athlete, you can still go on this hike as long as you're really motivated and drink a lot of water. So it's hard, but it's really worth it. On the way down, Joe took us on a side path, and we got to see 2 waterfalls and swim in them. There's the first or second one, I don't know. But yeah, there's the second one, I guess. They were really, really beautiful, and it was really gratifying to have that experience. And then on the way down, here's some pictures of the diversity in nature that we saw. So these were common around those dragonflies were common around the water. We saw a lot of them. So obviously the Coxcomb Basin is really rich. And that night some of us went tubing again down the river.
Okay, this is part of the forest that we went to with these huge, they're called buttress roots, because the soil is very shallow there. The roots of some of these large trees spread out and just go along the surface, but they need to be this shape so that they can support the weight of a fully grown tree. And there's also a lot of swamp area around there, but these were really impressive. It's just almost stereotypically jungle. You look up and there's just all these vines, bromeliads everywhere, all these plants growing on other plants. There's Mr. Mailer's exploring, and that was one of the most impressive parts of the trip for me.
This picture seems totally out of context in the rainforest, I know, but briefly, this is another one of the books that was required reading for some of us before we left for Belize. It's about the Coxcomb Basin, the picture we've just shown you. And this was the plane of Alan Urbina, that's a biologist who was very involved in the formation of the Coxcomb Basin. And in the 1980s, his plane crashed, went down to the rainforest. The reason we include this picture in this slideshow is to demonstrate how resilient the rainforest is coming at. It's taking over this plain, this man-made structure of metal and seemingly indestructible by natural forces. But it's just it was a moving experience to see how after 20, 30 years, this plain is slowly becoming part of the rainforest. I think it's testament to the richness of the rainforest.
So the next day we left the Coxcomb and we went to a school with around elementary. We went to the Maya Center Women's Craft Shop first, which was very cool. It's a shop that Maya women they handcrafted all of the stuff there, and they also run the store. Oh, and Helen is there. And then before we got on the boat, we visited a school with our elementary school age kids. They were very cute, especially the younger ones were really enthusiastic. And they were doing some pretty advanced stuff, like they were doing some math that I didn't see until I got to high school. And they also had an aspect of religious studies in their classes, and their teachers were very gracious letting us interrupt their classes and say hi to them.
So this scene is the ferry that took us 3 hours to get to the Glover's Atoll. It's called the Catamaran, so it looked like a spaceship. It was pretty cool. I don't know if we have a better picture of that, but so there's our first look at our island. Pretty exciting. Cabanas, those are what we stayed in. We were all really excited to be staying in something like that. Yep. And so that's our sink, made out of you say conch shell, which we ate later in the week. There's our dive master / surfer dude, Brian. He was giving us a tour of the island, and he was showing us what to do with coconuts. There are some of my next door neighbors, actually across the sea. And yeah, what else? Okay, so that night was the first night that we snorkeled. No, it wasn't. No. I guess I'm the next day then.
So as much as this looks like a vacation, which it kind of was, and it was beautiful, and we stayed in cabanas and all that, but we did have a mission to accomplish there. We were monitoring the reef there and observing the amazing biodiversity of it and learning about how it formed and all that. So we were snorkeling like 3 times a day, which was somewhat exhausting, and that took up most of our time. We weren't just chilling on the beach the entire time, and it was a good 10-minute swim out there. So we were carrying some equipment as well. So there was a kind of physically rigorous aspect to being here on this island. That was our classroom out over the ocean. We brought a lot of books with us, and we each had a site on the reef that we had to monitor. We had to draw maps of it. We had to choose a species and follow it for 20 minutes and record what it did. We had to identify every species that we could on our reef site, which meant a lot of trips back and forth. We were planning to go night snorkeling, but it was always too rough the nights that we were there, so we never got to do that, unfortunately. But that was definitely an option. Here we have, this is dinner being prepared by one of you. Ian? Okay. Yeah, he was the fisherman there, and we ate that later. But it was cool because every day they would throw the scraps into the water there, and sharks and stingrays would come and have a little feeding frenzy. There's Lindsay in the shark cage. That was apparently awesome.
Okay, so being in the shark cage by myself for a while, it was kind of intimidating because there was probably 6 or 7 sharks plus stingrays. Sorry, and it was so cool. I mean, not in this picture, I don't have snorkel gear on, but I ended up getting it on and taking pictures while I was underneath the water, and it was just, I would highly recommend people to do that if you go on this trip because it's a different life down there when you're with the sharks. So.
And it's like the opportunity of getting to be in the cage with the jaguar above you. It's the same idea. You get closer than you ever imagined you could be to these animals. So it's cool.
Yeah, an underwater camera is definitely a good thing to bring here. I wished I had, because about half of the trip is either underwater or in water. And Ryan actually was the only one among us who was scuba certified, so he got to dive a few times. I'll tell you about that.
Yeah, Stan was saying I was the only scuba certified person on the trip, which in between the snorkels I would go out with the dive master and we would go out to the wall, which up to that level it's usually about 45 to 60 feet and then it drops down to 3,000 feet. So pretty interesting. I would usually stick around the 65 to like 55 level. And it's really interesting. Unfortunately, I didn't have a camera that could go down to that depth, but to kind of give you a visual of what it was is you would enter the water, go down, be on the wall, and it's literally just like a cliff of a mountain, but underwater. So it's pretty interesting, and a bunch of coral reefs growing up there. Actually got to see the dive master get a spear gun. And there's an invasive species called lionfish. They're not native to the Caribbean. I think they're from Asia, from somewhere. And they're really invasive. They have no natural predators, so he would pretty much just go right up to it and just stick it with the spear gun. It's pretty interesting. Bring it back, and we actually, I think we ate it one night. So that's pretty interesting. And I would definitely recommend, if you do go on this trip, to try and get your PADI, which is scuba dive certification. It's definitely a worthwhile experience.
These were hermit crabs. They were everywhere, all over the island. And at nighttime, you had to watch your step. Those and geckos, or else you would most likely step on them. And there was coconut shells. There's a big pile of coconut shells in the coconut cracking station. And at nighttime, the hermit crabs would be all over them. They would eat the shell clean. So, in the morning and during the day, instead of being down on the ground, a lot of hermit crabs would go up and hide in the palm trees until nighttime. But they would eat the shells clean, like literally clean.
So in addition to providing a lot of good photo opportunities, the island was a terrific place for us to be together in this totally new environment and study a tremendous array of species, most of which none of us had ever seen. We'd only watched in movies and maybe some documentaries, but altogether, I mean, I've been asked so many times this last week to describe the experience of being in Belize. And words like phenomenal and terrific and awesome, life-changing, super cool, unbelievable, fantastic, they're all appropriate, but they don't begin, unbelievable, don't begin to capture what I think for all of us was kind of a mind-blowing experience. And it brought a lot of us together in a way that in BUHS we never thought would be possible. And, you know, we eventually did have to say goodbye on our 5 a.m. ferry back to the mainland. It was a sad morning, but we got a lot out of the experience for it. So, I don't want to go to...
Any questions?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Nobody has questions? How many do you think you might... Oh, go ahead.
So overall, the water quality was kept up and clean, and you could swim anywhere and drink water.
We had designated areas where we could get water to drink. We could just, or bottled water.
We couldn't just drink any water we found. That's dangerous. It could make us very sick. But usually we had bottled water or purified water that was out of a certain faucet, and that's it.
What's the climate like, weather on a daily basis? Like 90s, humid?
Yeah, we stepped off the plane on the tarmac in the airport in Belize City. It was like getting a really moist hug. It was very hot. It was almost 100 degrees as far as we were there, and the humidity was like 100%. 120% is what it felt like.
And at nighttime, it was always pretty much about 75, 80 degrees, so all we needed was a sheet to sleep with, so.
No, we were there in the dry season, so we were told it's very, very different from the wet season, and even the landscape would look completely different. When we were there, things were kind of cooler and drier than they usually are, and less growth. A lot of the places we saw would be underwater or at least wet during the wet season.
It also didn't remain 100 degrees and humid the entire time. We didn't experience a lot of humidity, especially when we were on the island or in the rainforest, and it was usually upper 80s, which for us was really comfy.
Way over there. See?
Yes.
Did you guys ever have any close calls? Like,
We had a little swarm game.
Okay, we only had one, me and Lindsay and Gianna, who is not here, we had one little interaction with some wildlife in our cabin. It was in the mouse family, but it was the size of a rat, drop on my face at 2 o'clock in the morning. And that was fun, we would wake up. And then someone else we were in their room and a scorpion crawled down the wall. And we were told not to worry about it because they were living in our ceiling and there was lots of them and there's no point in taking them out.
One of the dives, actually the first one, just so happened to be on my birthday. When we surfaced, the boat usually comes around and wants to pick you up and you go back to the island. Well, on this occasion, the drift underwater was the opposite way that the driver thought. So he was miles away from us. So I almost had to swim back to the island, which probably would have resulted in me swimming in the ocean at night after seeing a bunch of sharks and stuff. It would have been pretty frightening.